start with the mechanism because it is broken before negotiations begin. Iran cannot legally close the Strait of Hormuz. Under UNCLOS, the strait qualifies as an international strait used for international navigation. All states hold an unconditional right of transit passage, independent of Iranian consent or goodwill, and that has been true since 1994. Iran's closure threats are not a legitimate exercise of sovereignty over adjacent waters. They are coercion, an attempt to monetize a legal nullity. US naval power has maintained transit access for decades, not because Washington negotiated the right to it, but because no valid basis for closing the strait exists in the first place. A Hormuz deal changes that the moment it is signed. Offering concrete sanctions relief in exchange for Iranian non-closure converts a legal fiction that Tehran owns the terms of Hormuz transit into a negotiated fact. The subtext is unmistakable. America paid for something it already owns. Tehran has already confirmed the logic. Its formal counterproposal in the current talks explicitly demands international recognition of Iranian sovereignty over the strait. That demand doesn't appear by accident. It is the opening bid of a party that has correctly read Washington's willingness to negotiate over something it has no legal right to claim. The precedent does more damage than the concession itself. Every future Iranian threat, against shipping lanes, against Gulf partners, against US naval operations, now carries an implicit price tag. Tehran's threat portfolio doesn't shrink after a Hormuz deal, it gets a published rate card. The next crisis starts from a worse baseline than this one. Set the legitimacy problem aside entirely. The strategic math still does not work. Iran closed the strait in early March. The closure is real, the mines are real, and the toll charging on non-hostile shipping is real. So the proposed trade is now this: the full sanctions architecture, pressing simultaneously on the nuclear file, proxy financing, missile production, and domestic stability, in exchange for reopening a single choke point. That is not a balanced exchange. It is the most consequential economic lever Washington holds, cashed in for relief on one front while the rest of the threat portfolio runs unchecked. The nuclear breakout timeline does not get extended. Hezbollah's missile inventory does not shrink. The Houthi campaign against Red Sea commerce does not stop. The drone pipeline to Russia is not interrupted. The sanctions pressure that has been starving it all simultaneously. That's the thing that goes. That is not a deal. It is a receipt, and it is a receipt for the wrong item. The audience for this negotiation is not only Tehran. It is Riyadh, Abu Dhabi, Doha, and every Gulf partner that has spent 2 years watching the US staying power under pressure and quietly hedging toward Beijing. What they see in a Hormuz deal is not pragmatic statecraft. They see Washington liquidating its most durable lever because the costs of holding it became politically inconvenient. The message received in those capitals is not America remains a reliable partner. It is America has a price and the price is manageable. That perception, once established, does not reverse easily. The reputational damage from this particular concession would outlast the deal by years, and it would arrive at precisely the moment the Indo-Pacific competition requires the opposite signal. None of this means no agreement is possible. It means the deal on offer is built around the wrong deliverable. Real sanctions relief should be conditioned on verifiable, phased rollback across Iran's full threat portfolio. Enrichment limits with actual inspection architecture, documented constraints on proxy financing, measurable reductions in ballistic missile and drone production. The Strait of Hormuz is not the problem to solve. It was never the problem. It was the pressure point Tehran chose to elevate because Washington was paying attention to it. Any framework that treats Hormuz access as the central deliverable has mistaken the symptom for the disease. The blockade is an instrument, not a strategy. But the answer to an imperfect instrument is a sharper strategy, not selling it off for a promise that the symptom won't recur, while the underlying pathology runs unchecked. Washington isn't being offered a deal, it's being handed a receipt and asked to call it a victory.